Council, Monday, July 24th, 7:03. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Larry, if you don't mind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Quisenberry.
Here.
Nivelt. Here. Brooks. Here. George.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Radazzo.
Here. Okay, next item 4, approval of the agenda. Before we approve that, Melanie would like to add an item, if you don't mind.
I would like to add to number 11, unfinished business. We'll make it A, intergovernmental agreement. And other than that, I'm okay with the rest of it.
Okay, Melanie added an item. If that's okay with everybody, we should have a motion and support.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, and those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Next is...
Nay.
Nay. I'm sorry?
I'm curious, Ken, so Melanie, you're inserting an item right here on the go, right?
Okay, Pat, I'm gonna explain this.
Go ahead.
Now's a good time. Melanie asked to put it on. I said, Melanie, we can add it to the agenda, or you can discuss it in items of the trustees, but it's unfair for us to have to vote on something that some of us are hearing for the first time.
Yes.
And therefore, it's an added item for discussion purposes only. There will be no motion or vote on that particular item.
Okay. Because I'm saying I turned in and I realized it was late, but I turned in a minutes from the Historical Society meeting today and got shut down on that. That can't be included.
What do you mean it can't
In
be?
the packet?
I wanted it to be included in the packet tonight, that's all. And I was told by our secretary, that's a no-go. That's all I'm saying.
Allowed to change
This
the
seems,
packet.
this seems like I
We
should
have
have
a
been
manager,
accepted
and
also.
apparently I found out an hour ago, he's in Philadelphia, and he's gonna be there all week.
Okay.
So there is certainly a communication issue on this council. So that we can add to the list of other things that I seem to be kept in the dark about.
Okay. But we're gonna add Melanie's.
Adding this item.
Will you consider adding mine?
Adding what's your item?
It's minutes. That's all it is. It's just the minutes for the Historical Society.
I'll add any item you would like. I'm just saying it can't be something we vote on.
We can't do anything with them tonight, is the thing.
It's unfair to any council
Oh,
member.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Every council member gets an opportunity to hear a discussion and then make a rational vote and not have to do it on the fly where they find out about it 10 minutes beforehand.
All right.
It just doesn't, it's
All right.
any motion.
But
It's not-
minutes as of the last meeting, we basically rubber stamp them anyway. And I agree with that.
Well,
what
actually,
you said.
Pat, I believe that if it's Historical Society, they're just acceptance. We just receive them. We don't approve those
Right.
things. So that should be something we could just
Accept. That's my point, yeah.
Right,
And
that
you-
should
I
be the
thought you
case.
did, you explained it well last meeting. You said we don't need
Yes.
to vote on this.
And it shows on here.
So
We're
this
accepting
is
planning
merely
commission.
an acceptance item, so we're not voting on it.
Right. I
Okay,
get
so can we amend it to say those are there?
But they're not in here.
I can go over there. If I get a key to get in, I can be back in 10 minutes.
They should
And
have
I know
been-
how to use it.
They should have been copied and brought to the meeting.
Okay, but I think
All
she's
right.
been told not to do that, so in her behalf, she's only doing what she's been
Right.
asked to do.
But,
You get my point, though.
yes.
Oh, very well.
Yep.
And I hope I made some points as well.
I don't see what the difference is, though.
I don't either, Pat.
Okay.
But at this point, what are we gonna do?
I don't. Okay.
Moved and supported, and 6 yes, 6 yeas, 1 nay?
Correct.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got it, that for the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Next is the approval of council minutes. We have 3 sets of them in our packets. Regular meeting, May 22nd, joint meeting, June 12th, and a regular meeting, June 26th. These are minutes that we can't approve because we were all alive and well for them. If
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 22nd, 2023.
Support?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other motions? Or any other discussion? The next motion, Kay, I was gonna say we could approve all three at once if you want.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Then I'll make a motion to approve the joint minute meetings of June 12th, 2023, and the regular meeting minutes of June 26th, 2023.
Support?
Any further discussion on the minutes? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No opposition, passes unanimously. Acceptance of items, this is the things that we were just referring to. There are things that get put in our packets for us to review, and if we have questions about them, we can address the right people about them, but we don't necessarily have to vote to approve any of these anymore. We do also, we specifically requested that the attorney invoice be put into this packet so that everybody could have an opportunity to review that invoice in detail. So that's also an accepted item, even though it does show up in our distributions for the month. So items A through G are in your packets. There's a lot of these here, so rather than go through each one, I'll just ask if anybody has a question on anything in A through G.
I have one question, and I'll just put it on the record. Perhaps someone can answer this. Well, I'll ask Ryan when he gets back. On the DDA minutes, under the board member project updates, under Wilson, speaking with Jason on Wi-Fi for the village, I was just curious what that project is. And I will ask Ryan when he gets back, but I just wanted that on the record.
Well,
for
make sure
council
that's
to
so
know.
noted, okay? Okay. And that Kenan is noted, and hopefully we'll get a response. That being said, we can move past acceptance items if no one else has any other questions. Approval of disbursements. We have disbursements listed, and the sheet is in your packet.
I make a motion to approve our disbursements for the period of June 15, 2023 through July 15, 2023 in the amount of $36,987.70.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Is there any further discussion on the disbursements? If I could have a roll call vote on that.
Nivell.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. The disbursements will be paid. Next is public comments. That's if anybody came to the meeting tonight. Hold on a second. I just want to make that announcement that anybody who wants to address the council can. Please raise your name, raise your hand, and when I call on you, if you come up to the podium and state your name so that we can get it written down, and then just go right ahead with your comments until we tell you that's good enough.
Is this on? It's okay? All right. Next year I will have been a
I'm
resident.
sorry, we didn't get your name.
I'm sorry, Marilyn Webb,
Okay.
Can you spell your first name?
Marilyn.
2 B's or 1 B?
2 B's.
Thank you.
Next year I will have been a resident taxpayer in Ortonville for 40 years. I would like to raise the subject of the Crossman Park Village Playscape across the street. I see there is now a covered pavilion with tables, a dedicated corner to a village activist in existence. However, the Playscape, swings, and other playthings are the same as in 1984 when my child played there. A close examination, and I did bring pictures with me, of the Playscape shows a lack of maintenance with rotting wood, peeling brown paint, questionable joints, metal bars to climb on which should not turn if the children use them. There is no sand, only a very rough and blackish dirt, which attracts really low-flying insects in the summer. The solitary foot swing is attached by some kind of hook, digging into the wood above it. There are holes just above the ground which seem to serve no purpose. The village council should be concerned about the safety of the children and the possibilities of injuries. I believe this situation of neglect presents a negative view of my village. There are new businesses coming in, which should ideally mean more customers to the village, some with children and grandchildren. Not having a clean, safe place for children to play does not encourage their return. Moreover, the community and school events held there could and should be enhanced by a cleaner and safer environment. Finally, the tax-paying residents of the village deserve a place for their children and grandchildren to play safely. In my opinion, if the village can afford an EV charging station, a traffic light, new trees on the streets and flowers on the corners to make the downtown more attractive, it can certainly invest in Ortonville's children and give them an attractive, clean, and most of all, safe place to play. Do you have any questions?
Other than thank you, and I'm sure we all agree with you.
Well, 40 years is a long time to wait
My
for a
kids played on that
playscape.
as well, and that would have been about that many years ago,
Well,
37 or 38.
I hope you all heard all of the negatives, because this is my village too.
Absolutely.
And I think the taxpayers have waited long enough. The schools have installed brand-new ones. There's ones out on Hadley Road. The next township has a brand-new one. So I think we should be able to do that also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your comments are well taken. And hopefully, we can enact some changes that address that. Yeah, it is. We're all on the same team. I'm not sure what he meant by that, because he could bring that to us just as easily.
I do believe, looking in the budget too, it is something that's slated within a short time period to have funds dedicated toward that, and that is also an area that I am concerned with because my grandchildren play there as well. So last time I took them there, I said, this may all be changed in just a few years. So I do believe it is in the budget for something to be done at Crossman Park, so I will keep up on that.
Keep up on it, exactly.
Yeah, because I am also concerned.
Okay, any other residents would like to speak to the council? Yes, you in front.
Hello, my name is Susie Camp. I own JB's Barbecue. I'm coming into town.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
I'm sorry, Camp.
Like,
You know, like you're going camping.
Okay.
C-A-M-P. Yeah, Susie, S-U-Z-Y. Camp. I found out about this meeting about an hour ago, and I have nothing really prepared. But I have the interest of introducing myself and explaining what it is that we hope to bring to the village. And I've heard that there are some misconceptions and just, the high school hearsay, which is new to me since I've lived here. I've lived here for 8 years. I live about 5 houses down the road on Mill Street that way. I did want to take a minute to piggyback off of what Marilyn had said. My children are grown, but to hear Miss Brooks, what you had said about your response about maybe in the next couple of years, I mean, the safety of children, I don't think should wait that long. That's just my initial reaction to that. I think that should be extremely concerning, and maybe even the park shut down while construction is done. It's my personal opinion without giving any personal thought to it because it was so recent. However, I do have a couple of notes that I jotted down. Again, I want to introduce myself. I've lived here for 8 years. I live with my husband. I have my own personal 3 children who are all grown, as well as 2 others that are my husband's. They're my stepchildren. They are going to be seniors at Brandon High School this year. I've been a chef my entire adult life, always wanted a restaurant. I've been a caterer for about 8 years. We decided earlier this spring on the weekend of St. Patrick's Day to open up our food stand, our barbecue stand. We are good friends with the owner of Tom's Market, so he offered us a space, and we thought we'd try it out. We had no idea it would explode the way that it has, and we have every weekend we are just jumping through hoops to how we can provide better, and we're trying to do so. But we realize that even though we have gone to our biggest capacity that we can at our current location, we are still hitting blocks. We are running out earlier. We have amazing support from everybody in the village who has come out and spoken to us, and we would like to be able to provide on a bigger capacity. We had an opportunity with the building that we are now leasing in town, and we just went with it. It feels right. We're going to do it. We do have some hurdles to go through. I just wanted to explain our intent. I understood that there were some concerns that we have covered the windows with butcher paper. Honestly, we are so bombarded's the wrong word because it has a negative attachment to it, but it is quite insistent of people constantly stopping by, interrupting us while we're trying to build what we would like to bring to this village, of just asking questions and everything. And it was mostly just more so for privacy, so that we can do the construction that needs to be done to be able to bring what we're going to bring, which we're super excited to do. Again, I was told that there were concerns on that, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm extremely transparent and would like to address anything that you might have concerns about. That's about it as far as the small amount of notes that I was able to jot down before I got here. Again, this was really quick, other than we're so grateful. Everybody seems to really enjoy what we provide, and we're super hopeful and excited to be able to be a part of this. And I don't know if at this meeting there are questions. I've been on several boards in my life, so I know that's not always the case. But I definitely always want to be transparent and answer any questions that there may be.
Well, again, thanks very much for those comments. I know this village. I happen to be on the Downtown Development Authority as well, and many of us are familiar with it. We always encourage growth in businesses and business cooperation and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, to be honest with you, I'm not sure what the hoops are that you're required to jump through, but
It's not on your end, it's the county.
well, there you go.
But
That's what
I'm
getting at.
persistent. I've got a dream. I'm going for
We
it.
could support you 10,000%, but there's a lot of businesses here that would like to have restaurants that can't.
Sure.
Because of health department and other regulations that block us from expanding
Would you like
in
me
that
to
direction.
speak on that? And
Sorry?
would you like me to speak on that a little bit?
Well, no, I'm very familiar
Okay.
with it. What I'm hoping is that it goes really well for you and it goes quickly.
You know,
That's,
Lord, are you
For sure, that's
listening?
what-
I hope
think that
so
there's
too.
anybody that would not want,
Yeah.
a business to open up and succeed down here.
I understand there are concerns, and people know a lot of people and maybe have friends and family members who have tried to do what we are doing, and it has seemed impossible. I'm aware of all of this. I've done my research. We did not go into this blindly. We're trying to do it very smart.
Then I'm pretty
and
sure
slowly.
you'll have a pretty satisfactory outcome if that's what's happened so far, and I believe it is.
Yes, it's
Well,
looking that way. We're very excited.
When,
So I just want to take a time to
you're-
introduce ourselves.
when everything comes together for you, and I'm sure it will be right there to welcome you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And your food is excellent.
Oh, you've had our food. I was hoping to recognize some of you, and I was a little ashamed that maybe I didn't if you had. So thank you for trying our food. And then,
Thank you,
and I
Ms.
cannot stay because I'm super busy. So I apologize. I don't want to seem rude.
Yes, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Judy.
Okay, looking across the audience again for any comments to the Ortonville Village Council. And hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is items that require council approval. As we mentioned before, we had a consent agenda. I'm not sure this is what is going to replace it, but in this case, we don't have anything. So if we did have something, it would appear here, and it would be A, B, C, D, E, like we see, and each one of them would be called upon. There would be a motion, discussion, and then a vote. And we would then be voting on them at that time. The column's empty here, so we don't have anything. It's just a sample of what the agenda may look like in the future. Next is items from trustees. If I can, I'll start over with you, Mr. Hayden.
Okay. Well, I would like to address real briefly some of the safety concerns. Of course, I've been a long time resident, not as long as others here. I've only been here about 30-some years. But during that time, I'm always concerned about safety, which is why one of the biggest safety issues for me beyond the parks and stuff is really Kearsley Creek, which is a natural kid magnet, and all the kids, they're going to want to go on there. And that's why I've always consistently tried to support getting sewers in our community, because I see that as a health and safety issue for our kids, and anybody who has kids or grandkids that are in the community here should be aware of the high E. coli levels during the summer and how dangerous that can be. So, you know, we definitely want to address all kinds of safety concerns, and I think that's an area that now that we're working with the county, hopefully that's going to also come a little closer to where we can have some solution to help alleviate that safety issue as well. And you're absolutely right that we do need to focus on not just the new things we're building, but also on maintaining our existing things and make sure we have a safe and good village for everybody here.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I don't usually do this, but go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, her business is right in front of the park.
Yes, it is.
If she has people come there with their children, they're probably gonna meander back in the park to use the covered picnic place. So I think a couple of years is a pretty long time to wait to encourage your businesses.
I had thought that we had replaced some of that equipment back in the 90s when I was on the council in the past.
30 years ago.
It wasn't all of it, but I do recall that there was some equipment at least that had gotten replaced, but not all of it. So.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Okay, sorry. As far as Parks and Rec, Ryan and I met with Fred on the 18th when I got back. We had a really good conversation regarding I'm going to use the word in-kind services for them using Sherman Park, things of that nature. Things that Fred had brought to Ryan and I, the equipment, like the playscape over at Sherman Park, that was a donation basically. The lights that they put in, they maintain those. I'm talking the big field lights. There's a lot of things that they do. DPW does cut the grass, the outfield. The P&R guys, they maintain the infields. Chalking and doing the sand and all that with the diamonds. Fred did make a point that we need to get together to discuss their I forgot the word for it, but something that they do like every couple of years.
Their Parks and Rec master plan.
Yes, thank you. Their master plan. And also, Ryan and I are going to sit down with Bob and discuss further his take on things. So we've got both sides, and then we're going to proceed that way. So we'll have more we will have more information as far as responsibilities and what we're expecting and what they're expecting from us. As far as pickleball goes, everybody knows it is open. One problem that we have had was that participants are parking not so much on the grass but up on the sidewalk, and parking bikes on the sidewalk. The issue with that is people walking or utilizing wheelchairs, strollers, those block them, and we need them to stay off the sidewalk. I prefer them to stay off the grass and notice the signs that say no parking, but I can't enforce that. but there is parking available all the way around there, and it's, you know, should be used.
Is there a bike rack there, Tony?
I don't think so.
There used to be.
I can't say 100%, but I mean, they're literally parking right there on the sidewalk. That was pretty much about it. I know there's something I'm forgetting.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something hits you,
Yeah,
don't worry,
if you will.
You'll hear something. Melanie, if you don't mind?
Well, the pickleball, just to take off where Tony left, I have received some calls from people that are confused about who's booking it, who's not booking it, and it's actually gotten a little out of hand between township and village. No pun intended, but volleying it. How's that? That's pretty good, isn't it? Volleying it back and forth between each other. So that's why I put the intergovernmental under the agreement under unfinished business, and also with the parking, Tony. So we'll talk more about that. PC reappointments are this evening. They're on our agenda. We're still working on ordinances, and that should be wrapped up in August, or at least a final draft of everything. They're working on an EV ordinance and some other things right now, so hopefully we are at the tail end of it, which will be great. Pickleball courts at the school. There was confusion on who owns that, township, school, or a village. I have been told, and I haven't seen it yet, that the school does. So in case anyone was wondering, 'cause I know the planning commission, we thought it was village, and we were actually looking at that area for some of the stuff in the master plan. So now we have an answer, but I have yet to view the letter. So as soon as I view that, then I'll know for sure, but right now, it's school that owns it. There's a survey, rural Michigan surveys, perspectives and priorities, please take it. I think it came through MDOT or MML or both. So you guys probably got that in your emails. And then the grant, 2.0, everybody got information on that. Are you gonna talk about that with your updates?
I am not going to.
For your DDA? Well, if you have any questions on what we owe as a village on that grant, since we approved it before knowing what the number is, Ryan can fill you in with that. And Ryan and I took a webinar on actually government law that had the intergovernmental agreements and had some really excellent and timely points on that. So hopefully he can use that information when he starts on the agreement. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Kay Green?
We met on the manager's evaluation. We got all the responses back, and they were collated. And I believe you might be speaking more to that later during
I
the.
can't hear.
Yes, I will.
And then we've worked on the special event process. We have a first draft. We know there are some things that still need to be added, but we wanted you to look at it and see if this is the direction you want us to go. That's all, thank you. And that's in our packet tonight.
Ms. Linda Brooks?
I guess I just wanted to mention that, as part of the RRC, I did complete the virtual academy and got my little diploma.
You get a diploma?
Yes, I did.
Wow, well, the photographers, we should have called and had, we can
Should
still.
have taken a picture with me?
Well,
Yes.
we might be able to get them here on a rush notice, and,
I believe Amber did the Zoom,
Oh,
and
okay.
I did
All
the
right.
virtual academy.
so it did get well covered.
Yeah, we both kind of, did
Okay.
that training, so that was,
Good to hear that.
Good.
It's interesting stuff, isn't it?
it's fascinating, yeah.
I figured you'd love it.
Yeah, but there was a lot in there.
Mr. Pat George?
Yep, from a historical society standpoint, big news is that the Mann Schoolhouse is done as far as painting and some upkeep on it, and it looks beautiful. And so I'm real happy with that. I know Judy and the crew is ecstatic. And that goes now with the that's the man schoolhouse, and the mill itself is done. So that was done last year, so that's very exciting. So the older folks will be very calm there for a while. The last thing is on the time capsule, so I get a kick out of this. And maybe I'm missing this. I know I can see the plot. I know where it's going. I just haven't seen it when it's going to be put in place. It's going to be exciting too. And that's all I got.
Okay, great. That takes care of,
Yeah, I found it.
you came
Yeah.
back to,
As far as the concession stand at Sherman Park, Ryan did let me know that he talked to both the architect and the grant administrator from the DNR the week prior. And they're working through the required changes to the plans prior to working through the bid process. There's not a definite timeline, but they are actively working to meet requirements of the grant and to move things forward as possible. And also, the thing that's been going on with this, the architect is they have to be licensed a certain way with the DNR to do this project. The architect does some, turns it in, does some, turns it in. When all that stuff got put in, there were things that he had left out. There's things that didn't follow, I guess you could say, DNR rules that had to be followed for the grant. So all those changes have to be made. So that's where this whole thing is going right now, is it's between the DNR and the architect, getting things right. And Ryan has been doing a fantastic job following up on it. As soon as he hears something, he lets me know. So that's what I want to let you know about that. As far as other things, I just want to say this. I know in the past people have gotten emails regarding certain situations, and I really hope people will at least, let's say it's a park and rec issue. It would be really nice if somebody that got a phone call or an email or a knock on their door to at least share it with that person that's on that committee, so they are not being blindsided like some dummy at a meeting. So I appreciate that. That's it.
okay, thank you, and that should be noted for all of us. On to item 11, unfinished business. We did add one onto the agenda, and it's called intergovernmental agreements.
We first asked for this to happen when the CDBG grant was requested and approved by Township. Fred actually came to our meeting to let us know that we're going to be having a pickleball court and that they requested one on our behalf. We did not know about that. And we asked at that time that Ryan and Fred get together and come up with an agreement on, just like Tony was saying, who's responsible for what, maintenance, insurance, injury. So we need
Schedules.
We need that. Yeah, I mean, we said that they were going to be the ones booking it, but they're not right now. They're referring people to Village, and then our Village refers them back to them. And it's embarrassing. So that needs to get done sooner rather than later. And also on the concession stand, we need one on that too. Who maintains it from here on out? Who has the liability insurance? Who runs it? Who gets the proceeds? So those need to be done, and I don't want to go into detail. This is something I believe the village manager needs to do with the appropriate party over there at the township. But we asked in December. We asked again at our last meeting, I believe, or the meeting before. So here we are. And I think that if we could put a timeline, or I don't know how you want to handle it, Ken, but is there a way that council can see something soon.
We've listed off a bunch of things that we need to see soon.
I know.
And we're not getting them soon. I don't know that deadlines on it even matter. I don't think so.
Okay, so what should the office be saying when someone calls and says, who's scheduling pickleball and what are the hours?
We give them Ryan's home phone number. That's about the best I can say.
Okay.
Because
and
those are
I'm
where,
being
those
serious.
are where some of these problems exist.
Yeah.
And we've been
Right.
beating a dead horse here for I don't know how long.
Right.
And it's kind of,
I mean,
I
it's
don't know the
putting them
answers
in
to
an
those.
awkward
It is.
situation.
It's puts
So
everybody.
they refer to the township and the township says.
That's right.
Excuse me, I'm gonna send you right back to the village.
That's right.
We
It-
can't treat our residents like this.
We cannot. And
So somebody.
because we've asked, as you mentioned, December and a month ago and this time, and, you know, and we're not getting anywhere, you know, I guess I don't,
My question is, you're talking
Sure.
about the schedules. There's no indication on those courts that you need to be scheduled to be able to use them.
right.
So why
It's a-
wouldn't
it's a
I just
free-for-all.
go out
Right.
there and use them?
It's a free-for-all. I think
That's
it's,
the point.
I think I didn't even know it was open, or I didn't know it was available for use. I didn't know anything about it.
We don't, and that's the problem.
And why things just
Happen.
go, and
Now, is any, I mean, again, I wanna go back to Tony and say,
Yeah.
so, you know, is Tony down there yelling at, Fred and saying, hey, Fred,
yeah,
we
well,
gotta talk.
it's,
You know, I mean, I think we can get Ryan involved, but I also think if you're on Parks and Rec, maybe, you know, Tony can have some good conversations, with Fred and then bring them on.
Well, if you want, I can.
I can,
put
I
some
want
information
to
out
clear
here.
the, I
All
want to
right.
clear the air on all of this.
So the pickleball court, at our last meeting, I'm sorry, 2 meetings prior, I believe it was, they gave me an opening time of July 1st to July 4th, and that was hit. That was done. As far as people, scheduling uses of it, like you said, there's nothing saying they can't. The problem is, you have to look at it just as you would the baseball field. If you're gonna go out there as a team, like, we'll say the Memorial Day baseball games, they have to put a permit in to play those games. Those permits go through Fred's department, and then we approve them. That's the same way that should happen with that. The pickleball meetings and things like that, those are not sanctioned by the village, they're not sanctioned by the township. That is citizens doing what they can do, that they can do that, there's nothing saying they can't.
That was for the school, not for ours down here, though. Those were-
That meeting at the library?
Yeah, but I think
Oh,
Tony
okay.
has a good point. If we have public park property, the public is free to use that unless somebody formally schedules that
Right.
Right.
for an
And
event
the
or something.
formal scheduling was going to be done by whom then?
Yeah,
Well, again, it's
If
the
it's-
Sherman
It's going
Park,
to be done by
Sherman,
Parks and Rec
okay,
over there. That's
Sherman
what-
Park
Yeah.
is basically, we gave the township the okay to use our facilities. They maintain those things, okay? We cut the grass, you know, things like that. The whole pickleball situation is, you know, when Kara was here, I think there was some good information, but when she left and Brandy came in, I'm not blaming her, I am not blaming Brandy, but I know what it takes to schedule things. They use a system that it's really good, but then there are some flawed things. So I will get with Fred. Fred retires in August. I plan on meeting with Fred before that. I want Ryan there as well.
Well, Brian has to do the intergovernmental agreement.
I understand,
I
it,
mean,
but
you can
I
be
can
part
get
of it,
him the
but-
information
Yeah,
that,
but Ryan
okay,
is our acting village manager to that agreement. And and not just for that.
Well,
but
I'm
for
not
consent.
talking agreement, I'm just getting answers for
well,
you
we need
guys.
the agreement.
But
I'm
the
talking
agreement, you know, I can go to
We're talking
Ryan and
about
say,
the
Ryan,
intergovernment
we-
agreement.
We're talking about the agreement. We need that.
So, you know, I will have something by the next meeting.
Can I ask something, since I'm the one that gets the phone calls?
Right?
I would send them right back to Brandy.
No, and Brandy's sending them right back to
And
us.
I
This
will
has
let
gotta
Fred know,
stop.
I will let Fred know that this is something that they need to handle. So send them
ask a
back to
question?
Brandy. Yeah.
When do they unlock the gates?
The gates shouldn't be locked. The gates were locked when they were, building it, if you will, because they didn't want anybody in there screwing up.
Okay,
stuff.
so to make sure I'm understanding right for when I get a phone call,
Yeah,
gates aren't locked,
they shouldn't be.
okay? But the gates aren't supposed to be locked. They don't have to schedule as long as they're not doing teams, correct? That's my understanding. It's a free-for-all.
Okay,
It's first come, first served.
We'll go over the details of that, but to answer your question, it's open to the public, it is a public facility.
That's all I need to know.
And that can be your answer.
What are the hours of open and close?
There isn't any, it's like Crossman Park, if you wanna show up and play in the dark, go right ahead. Crossman Park doesn't have hours.
That's all that's what I was just ironing out, making sure.
It's just a public park.
To kind of springboard off of what Amber is saying, you know, it's kind of like we have this facility here, and this is the villages, we schedule. If people want to use this for something special, we schedule, just like the pavilion in the park. The question is, who has control over that pickleball court?
I don't
'Cause
know
we
that
have-
anybody schedules I mean,
Yeah.
the pavilion is
And-
there for
and-
anybody who cares to use it.
Yeah, and
I eat pizza there once a week.
yeah, but there are times when they say, hey, we want to reserve the pavilion for this event.
Wonderful, they come to see us.
And they
we
come and
do
see
it.
us
Just
for
like,
that.
just like
If
somebody
somebody
would for
says
this
we
bill.
want to reserve the pickleball court, ultimately the question is, which
That's when
entity
They
should
go to Parks
have
and Rec.
control over
That's
access?
fine, I get it, Tony. It goes to Parks and Recs. If they wanna
Tony,
schedule
if you're gonna-
something, I'd
if-
tell them to
Just
go to Brandon.
tell them, if they ask, that you treat it just like if it was a baseball diamond, because that's pretty much the same
think
thing.
you're right.
Yeah, as long as nobody else is using it.
That's all
for
I
free
wanted
go.
to make sure, because I knew nothing about it, and my
Right.
understanding, it was Park and Rec, so I said, you
Yes.
gotta call Parks and Recs.
But if we had this intergovernmental agreement, there wouldn't be any questions about this.
Exactly, and that's.
Right now,
that's
it's
my
just a
whole point.
public,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I want it done, and sooner rather than later, it's putting our staff in a bad situation.
Okay, and on that, you have that in your note that Ryan will get. I'm sure he'll have it first thing in the morning with all the other notes that the council is.
Yeah, I usually write all the minutes and stuff in the morning and I'll make them.
There's the minutes, and there's those things that you're gonna have to pass along to him, because usually he would be here to write them down. You're acting in his behalf, so you're taking notes as if you were Ryan, making notes to yourself, and then the things that we've mentioned, he should be informed of in your next conversation.
Yep.
Not that you're in the middle of it or you gotta decide anything. This is what the council told you to tell him.
No, that's fine.
Okay, is that where we're at? New business, budget adjustments. As everybody knows, we passed the budget, I think, June the 12th on that meeting, but there was still 3 weeks left in the fiscal year, which means there were bills still coming in and things being paid out that require us on June the 1st, I'm sorry, on July the 1st, to make adjustments to the budget we passed so that it is a balanced budget. You'll see in your packet 5 pages of, I'll call them very minor transfers of monies from one fund to another in order to achieve that zero balance. And that's a customary thing that would happen every single year with just about every municipality there is that has a budget. So that's for our purposes only, or not our purpose only, it's for part of the budget, and it's for informational concerns that everybody can go to bed and know that the village budget at the end of the year last year was zero.
Do we need to vote on that, Ken?
Yes, I make a motion to adopt the 2022 through 2023 budget adjustment request as presented.
Support?
Okay, is there further discussion other than the brief outline that I gave?
I had a lot of questions that did not get answered, so, just so you know, I will be voting no.
On the budget adjustments?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Any other discussion besides that? All right.
I do. I guess I'm gonna ask Beth, on the special events, the 175th expenses, that 4,123, you have next to it says no original budget, but we approved him for X amount of money. Am I missing something?
We never set a budget at budget time.
I think, Tony, if I can answer and correct me, but when that budget was created, which would have been in June of last year, there wasn't money set aside because we didn't really get this ball rolling until halfway through the budget year.
okay.
So it came in mid-budget, therefore,
okay, so
it
that's
didn't
what-
have a starting point to it.
Okay,
Because
okay.
June of 2022, nobody was even aware we were gonna have this big party.
Okay.
So that's why it didn't have an original number to start with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further debate or discussion on this? If not, I'll have a roll call vote.
Nivell,
No.
Brooks,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. All righty, sample permit, special events packet. We asked Ryan at our last meeting to put something together. The personnel committee met, or a committee met, put some ideas together. We asked Ryan to get it regular for us today, but it's only in sample form at this point and has not been critiqued, or there has not been a finalized version of this, but it was put in your packets to review right now, so that if maybe in the next few short days, if there's something you'd like to have added or looked at closer, please let either Melanie or Kay or Ryan or myself know, and we can address that. And then we will see a final copy of this. And once that comes, it'll be a final copy in your packet. We're gonna look at it, we're gonna already be familiar with it, and we'll be voting to approve it. But that will come at the August meeting.
And there are some things that need to be added, so I will send them to the office, and see if Ryan or Amber can send them. We have a cost sheet that was not put in this, and then also, it's like a letter that says approval that the office, or denial, that the office would send out that would keep the paperwork. And also, I had asked Ryan that once we do have the corrections, that he reviews it with Sergeant Glover, who is here this evening.
Lieutenant Glover.
Or Lieutenant Glover. Congratulations.
And I was almost gonna say Captain Glover, so I,
Yes, congratulations, it was a surprise. But then that way, especially when it comes to the payment, because there were a couple ideas for payment, and Ryan needs to talk with Glover about that.
I've had numerous conversations with you want me to talk about it.
I would love you to.
One of the issues that came up with some of the events are considered township events. I'll say homecoming, September Fest, the Memorial Day Parade. Some of those events have always been considered a township event wide. However, events such as Abigail's Pride, the Let's Go Brandon event a couple years ago, those are issues that are village-approved permits. And I told Ryan, I said, I'm no longer going to interrupt my weekend for one of those events through the summer, having staff come in, because we have to man those events. And I'm not trying to pick on Abigail's Pride, but I'm going to use that as an example. I couldn't get any of my guys to work that event because we had other events going on in the county that guys were signed up for overtime. And then the other issue was there were death threats against that event. It was all over social media about somebody driving down Mill Street to run people over. So I came in on my day off, and I had one of the reserves at the opposite end of the street for that event to block the main section off. But that comes at a cost. I'm not coming in on my day off to work a 7-hour event and take it as comp time anymore. I said, at some point, I have to man those, and whether it's the village or the township, I can bring in I could bring in 50 reserves if I had to, and they are free of cost. However, you have to have a full-time officer there for them to have any type of authority. So either myself, my sergeant, or one of the patrolmen have to be here. But I can't pull a patrolman off of a township when we're patrolling the township just to stay in the downtown for however long that event's gonna last. So I made Ryan aware of it early this year that initially I had denied that parade permit for the Abigail's Pride only because of the parade route. It was too long, and it required much more manpower as far as shutting down the streets. So we shortened it. It was approved. However, I was still here for, I believe, I can't remember if it was 5 hours, 7 hours. I think it was 7 hours. And I advised Ryan that the township would be sending the village a bill for my overtime that day. And that is one of the issues with these events. I have never seen a town of this size have as many different events that go on. And one of the biggest issues I've had, and I've talked to Ryan about this, I've talked to Courtney, I've talked to Matt, everything seems to be centered around the Sheriff Department substation. And what they don't understand is, and I get that it's a prime corner for those events, but they don't understand that that's a 24-hour operation. And I have guys that are carrying AR-15s and a lot of equipment to patrol cars. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of parking down at the fire department and telling my guys they've got to truck it down to the fire department to carry that gear past everybody. So I have asked that for some of these events to run a trial on shutting down South Street shutting down Church Street between Mill and Church Street and holding some of those events back there because it's much easier for us manpower to close those. And it's kind of fallen on deaf ears. It hasn't happened. It hasn't been a trial run. But I'm letting you know that you know, we are not going to continue to work these events and take comp time.
Well, Ryan brought that to our attention even at a budget workshop we had earlier. We all not only are expecting that we're going to have to pay for these services that we had been getting for free, and we're more than willing to pay those fees, and we also, on private events, we're more than willing to charge the private event holder for those fees. So it isn't village money that's going to be paying the Sheriff's Department's bill, it's the person who's holding the event. But that was been kicked around by the village, so we're aware of it. I've been at a couple DDA meetings, and it made them aware of the fact that sometimes police services aren't going to be free like they used to be.
And the problem with that is I don't know how you guys set that fee because.
Well, you gave us a price list.
Well, I gave you a price list, but depending, sometimes we don't know how long that event is going to take. You know, how long are we going to be there? Those type of things.
Right, and it can be within a range.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Well, how about this? The event's over, you're going to give somebody a bill.
Yeah.
And in that bill is going to reflect how long they were there. If it runs over, it runs over and the bill's higher. So,
Because most of these events, you're going to have, I mean, like I said, I can get you as many reserves as possible, but I'm going to have at least 1 to 2 full-time officers there to be with those reserves. They're not certified policemen.
and road closures and whatnot, but.
no, everybody's expecting it, and nobody is even batting an eye that I've heard from the DDA or the village council about paying for services.
And I talked to Ryan, I said, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, the permits go through me and Quapis for a final approval. And I'm not quite sure why that even goes sometimes because I don't know if we've ever denied an event. The village, whether it's Ryan or whoever, actually authorizes it. We are just looking at it for, obviously, when there's food trucks, the fire department has to be involved.
Right.
And I have to look at it from a manpower as far as what roads we're blocking off and where do I have to physically put a patrolman.
And also the ability to respond from where you guys are located downtown. We can't
Right.
close off your routes to respond either.
No, and then with the, Larry, the group that you're part of, you know, through the fire department, you know, with the volunteers, I never know whether there's gonna be 2 of you guys or if there's gonna be 5 of you or 10 of you. So I have to prepare for that as if nobody was there. And that's, because I know you guys are struggling getting guys for your unit, so. But I'm here to answer any questions if you have them further than that.
Well, we're aware of that. We have a special permit. I don't know if Ryan gave you a copy of what a draft is. I'll make sure that I make a note for the clerk to make sure that you at least see a version, hopefully the final version, because that's not too many days out from now. And, or even a sample if you wanted to look at it and give Ryan some input. You might. I don't, doesn't matter to me. It's not.
I mean, most events that we have to man are township events that the township has always, taken that as a township event, not just a village event.
Right.
4th of July, that type of
Right.
thing.
No, we like.
There are some of these events
A lot
that
of
we
them
have
are,
to man.
we like to be coordinated and always know and help out.
And
Just
just
like Bob helping out the township on their events.
Right.
So we're just, we're all about cooperation.
And then on another, you guys, Tony, you'd mentioned the pickleball courts. Nobody, I have not received one phone call about somebody parking on the sidewalk or on the curb. And I'm not a mind reader, so if it's going on, somebody needs to call us when it's going on, not a day later, not 2 days later. I need to know when it's happening, to get a patrol car there. Like I said, we're 36 square miles, and we don't always have a car just in the village to drive down Cedar or Ball Street. So I need to know when those issues are there, and we'll ticket them and go accordingly. But reference the pickleball, I don't know if there's lights for that court, what the hours are. When the skate park was open, it was a fiasco all the time with residents. So somebody
We're
ever
hoping
comes
for
up with
different
that, let me
results,
know.
than the skate park, for sure. And a better community interaction, and pickleball's kind of been
All right, thank you.
growing.
If I can
Thank you.
respond to something Lieutenant said. As far as the parking goes, when I seen it, I came down, I got Ryan because I figured it just opened. I don't want people starting to get tickets left and right. Ryan did go down there and said, hey, gotta move this stuff.
Well, I can answer for Greg, but typically when anything is brand new, they start off with warnings first. And if the problems don't solve themselves very quickly, then the enforcement action kicks up higher and higher until you need to do tickets or possibly even impound if it's a repeat offender. But
Yeah.
that's the scale in which enforcement generally takes place.
We're not gonna allow anybody to park on those sidewalks or up in the grass. I mean, there's plenty of parking. And they're not playing pickleball if they're handicapped, I can't imagine.
And anybody who has a driver's license in our state should know it's illegal to park on the
Exactly.
sidewalk.
There are no parking.
But like Kenny said,
It's usually in the
we'll give
morning.
warnings early on, but after that, the warnings go away.
It's usually in the morning, anywhere from basically 8 o'clock until about 11.
Well, the other good news is if somebody's parked illegally over there, it's because they're right there at the court, and it can be pretty encouraging when a police car pulls up next to it, and you see somebody running as fast as they can to get to their car.
Right, and we
then
just
they heed
had
the warning.
that.
What's that?
We just had that with this baseball tournament in town,
Oh, yeah.
They were
That was-
parking anywhere and everywhere, and as soon as we went up to the coaches and people that were responsible for it, said, you've got so much time to get these cars out of here, or there'll be a wrecker hooking them.
Right.
And I think all of them disappeared. I don't think we even wrecked tickets.
Not a surprise.
Thanks, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item C, which is reappointment of planning commissioners.
Ken, so I take it then that you don't want any discussion tonight just on the previous event about the event permit. You want all the comments sent to the
No,
Melanie?
if you want to talk more about it, I mean, it's on our agenda to be discussed, it's just not going to be voted on. And we
Yeah, I
don't-
understand
this
that.
is-
I just wasn't sure if you were wanting to entertain any more discussion on this one, or, because I had a few comments, but if you want, I can wait and just send them to them.
Yeah, that's better. I prefer that, because
Okay.
then there's a better record of it, I suppose. And
Okay.
Ryan's gonna probably get lots of people that have different suggestions, and they may not all get, everybody's not gonna get everything they like, but the final product should be something that we can all be,
Live with.
yeah, that we can all live with.
And if we've
There's a few
given
things in this
and
draft
if
that
we've
I don't
given
like,
some
but they're gonna,
suggestions, yeah, me too, but.
but it's just gonna
It's just a draft.
get something to vote on.
We get the final draft, then we can have discussion. If we see topics that didn't get addressed, we can raise them and discuss
Or
them.
let us know in between time if you see something now that you don't like, or.
Oh, yeah, I will. But I mean, if it doesn't get in the
Yeah.
final draft, we can discuss it again
Yeah.
when the
But the
final
only thing
draft.
that I do like about this is, it was just recently, we said to Ryan, you know, you got a week to get us something, and he did. So that was a step in the right direction, I guess. So, yeah, we'll do that this way. Back on to the reappointments of the Planning Commission. This is a pretty routine measure. Their terms are run similar to ours. They're offset. There are 3 reappointments that we should be making tonight. At least the Planning Commission recommends these. And I would like to do them in 3 separate motions because their terms
Different
don't
terms.
line up exactly with each other.
Do you have the terms? Because I have nothing in my packet with their years, when their term is.
It's on the
Well,
letter
it's-
that,
it says
Yeah.
May 31st.
I don't have anything in my packet. Do you have?
I can read
that
those.
was
I do too.
I mean,
Okay, where
I
is
saw
it?
it because he told me about it
on
when
the
I got it.
letter that says the reappointment
Second
from
the
Ryan.
last page.
Oh, yeah, it's a letter from him.
All right.
I make a motion to reappoint William Conway to the Ortonville Planning Commission for a 3-year term ending May 31st, 2026.
You beat me to it.
Okay, this is a motion on Mr. Palshan, if anybody has anything they want to discuss
No,
about.
Will
Well,
Conway.
we're doing Conway,
Oh, Conway.
yes.
Oh, we're jumping around, eh?
Well, I went with the first
we're
one
in
they
the
had
order.
here.
Okay.
And they did it different in here, sorry.
Mine says different, but right now, we're gonna vote only on Mr. Conway. And if anybody wants to have more discussion on him, we can do that. Yeah.
Amber, can you send me that page tomorrow?
Okay. It's an appointment, so we'll do roll call.
Nivell,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Well, Mr. Conway has the unanimous support of the Ortonville Village Council. We can maybe move on to another one.
Make a motion to reappoint Lee Palshan to the Ortonville Planning Commission for a 3-year term ending May 31st, 2026.
Support?
Okay, is there any more discussion on Mr. Palshan?
Been on there a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
He wants to stay until he dies.
Well,
That's
I-
exactly what he wants to do. So, right, Mel?
Okay, no further discussion. If I could have a roll call vote on Lee Palshan.
Melanie,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. I take it you, Bob, you guys, you take advantage of him in the planning commission when it comes to changing light bulbs or anything like that?
Absolutely, except he always sits by me because I'll yell at him so he can hear it.
All right, I'm saying you gotta take advantage of a guy that's that tall.
And he should be back full-time into the planning commission in August.
Great. We're-
He's been ill, but
Yeah.
he's been keeping up to speed, and
That's-
that's why I was here. I just wanted to make sure that that went by.
Oh, that one definitely did. I'm pretty sure the next one will too, but we have to do it officially.
I make a motion to reappoint Rick McAvinci to the Ortonville Planning Commission for a 1-year term ending May 31, 2024.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. This is the third and final appointment that we'll be making tonight to the Ortonville Planning Commission. Does anybody like to discuss anything about Rick?
I just want to mention, because it's a 1-year term, the only reason we did that, we have to stagger the terms, and we needed one more for 2024, so he is interested to carry on, but we'll have to revote again in 2024 as well, but that's why it's a 1-year term.
Okay, that explains it. Roll call vote, please.
Nivell,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. All right, that's new business. Village manager report. Village website update. Not quite so sure I know what that is.
Okay, so do you want?
Page in here, the last page.
This page I had. Yeah,
They sent samples for us to look at on screen. Larry, you can talk on that, right? You're the website? Are you with IT with Amber? or-
Well, I actually been we're trying to find a time that would fit for scheduling the IT committee. I think we're gonna have it next week, Monday.
Were you part of this, what was sent to us? The
Yeah, I
Wednesday?
received that, and,
No, were you part of that? So can you talk on that at all, or no?
not really. Ryan's been working with the web developers, and I know Amber's also been working on that too. I know that we all got the input in on what we would like to see, and I've been trusting Ryan and Amber to be able to coordinate that with the developers to get the framework in place so that we can then build on that and put it the way we want it.
Okay, but as far as the village manager report goes, did everybody get this letter from Ryan in theirs?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
It's kind of him in his own words explaining
Right.
what he would say if he were sitting here. I just didn't feel like I needed to read over it if everybody already.
Yeah.
Please.
got it. We all
Yeah,
got
I
the
haven't
same.
had any.
I just, yeah, and I have nothing else to add or subtract from.
Yeah, we defined all of the requirements for what we wanted to see on the website and how we wanted it to be, and you know, they've been working on that, and like I said, I trust that the developers are following the requirements that we set for them.
Okay, so that's it for the manager's report. Everybody read it. If you have any questions, I'm sure you could shoot Ryan an email. He can clarify it, and that should be it. Next, we're on to other updates, and I just have two to make. One is Bob Haxwell called me a couple days ago. There's a tree or two that he's going to be taking down in the village. Everybody's aware of the guy on Church Street who's got that big lift, and he painted we hired him to paint the old mill and do some other things for us. Bob was a little hesitant, and I'm really glad he called to ask me, because he has offered to let Bob take it, and we are turning him down on that offer. Because if we were hiring him to do it, that's one thing, like we have in the past. But as we all learned from some Jerry Sherman incidents, when we borrow a piece of equipment from a resident, we then basically take ownership of it. And he, in the past, has went up to Brown's and rented one on the village's dime, and that is by far the way we should go about these types of things. So Haxwell was told by me, thank you for sticking to the policy of not borrowing a villager's equipment for any reason, and if there's something we need, we can acquire it through another way. So I wanted to let you guys know that the guy was nice enough to make the offer, and I'm sure he really did mean well, but for Bob and his guys to take his equipment to go cut down trees probably shouldn't happen. So that was just something I passed on to Haxwell. The next question is on the reviews, and all I can tell you is that there's just been a unintentional, unknown step back, and it'll be on the next meeting when these get completed. Everybody on the council completed their forms, but it just hasn't, the personnel committee hasn't yet gone through them and prepared what is going to be a final document. And that's just a delay, and it's an unfortunate one, but look for that to come out in your next packet. Okay, that was the two things that I had. I'll go around the table just quickly once more if anybody has anything they'd like to add about our meeting tonight.
I'd just like to say I appreciate that Bob did follow that, because that's always been something I've felt strongly. The village needs to act professionally, and borrowing people's equipment personally on the side is not professional, and I think we definitely need to stay professional about doing things, so thank you.
Well, it was a nice offer, but I'm glad he asked.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have something to add. Amber, I'm not sure if I mentioned on that man school painting that was Scott Zimmer
Yeah,
and
I did
his
that.
crew that did that. Did I mention that?
No,
Well,
but that's
I want to give him the
Yes,
credit.
but no, it's always fine when we get him to do something for us,
Yeah.
and then he's basically, we're subcontracting with him to do it, so we're not.
But I'm just saying there, on record, I want to make sure he gets the credit for that.
Oh, yeah,
It's in
absolutely.
writing.
And put it-
Good.
We'll make sure that he
Okay.
does get it, because it's nice that he does that, and.
Yes, it is.
We do pay him, but boy, he gives us a really good rate,
Yeah,
so we can't
Okay, just making
complain
sure.
much about that.
okay.
But
And-
yes, that'll go in there.
And just as a quick, this week, I think it's Wednesday, the Arts and Council grant that was submitted for the Historical Society
Okay.
will be determined. So maybe you might have more good news.
Did you say will be determined?
Will be determined, yes. We are, Ryan had told us about those last time. Anybody can watch those. I'm gonna watch, because that's how I learned, so, I'll be watching it, but it is a long afternoon, but, yeah, so we should know something by the end of the week, and, but that would be great to, you know, get some more money for the old mill.
All for it.
I'd like to make a comment, just in our manager's notes here, that streets and sidewalk projects will begin, and I saw a lady at the farmer's market get her child's stroller caught in a big chip in the sidewalk, so I am glad to see that that is happening soon.
Well, I think also it might be helpful for all of us, if you don't mind. We're gonna tackle them, but there's a priority list as to what comes first and maybe what can wait a week or two or a month or two. And when you see something like that, my gosh, if you could pass on to me or Ryan what it was.
I'll make sure I do.
That way it
I
would
saw
be-
that and thought that's why.
But it could go, something, just a comment like that could make it move from number 7 to number 1 on a list of things to do. So appreciate that. Okay, there is one final item on the agenda.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Moved and supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
This Ortonville Village Council meeting is now over.